Hello, I'm Brad Oster, the founder of Harvestime. Thank you for joining me today on YouTube. I would like to share with you how God has used Harvestime over the past 30 years to guide and assist hundreds of the fastest growing and most successful churches in America to break through and overcome growth barriers, to develop effective strategic ministry plans, and to accomplish goals and objectives that at first seemed quite impossible. This proven strategy has worked in both large and small churches and rural farmland communities and large metropolitan areas, with denominational churches, independent ministries, older congregations, and very young churches that meet in public schools. And they'll certainly help you to overcome barriers that you might be facing. Not going to attempt to sell you on some 21 immutable laws or 12-step strategy, but rather a simple process that's been developed and refined over the last 30 years as a result of my working with hundreds of ministries just like yours. Pastor, for the sake of your ministry and the thousands of non-Christians in your community whose eternal destination depends on you, please set aside the time to view these videos. There are 5 clips, including this one. They are Harvestime introductions 1 through 5. The first one is the general introduction, which you're viewing now. Second, we'll introduce you to Harvestime University. The third is to show you our long-range strategic planning retreat, which we built in Colorado Springs just for you. We have number 4, our Capital Advantage fundraising program, and number 5 is the development of new facilities. Now, each clip is no longer than 10 minutes. Once you watch them, please pray about sharing them with your staff and your ministry leaders. Let me start by telling you a little bit about myself and why I started Harvestime. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I accepted Christ as my Savior in Sunday school at Grace Bible Church in Redwood City, California when I was 9 years old. Attended the Palo Alto Military Academy through 9th grade, and then I went to a college prep school that was run by Benedictine Hungarian monks. I graduated in 1978. My first job was with a company called Goodman Church Builders as a carpenter. I figured if Christ himself was a carpenter, then it must be an honorable profession. I built one church with Goodman Church Builders as an employee. The next one, I was a subcontractor for Goodman. And while the next one, they hired me. The church hired me instead of Goodman. Throughout the 80s, I built one church after another for any Christian ministry. In 1989, I hired my first architect, a fellow named Pat Morgan, and we began a church design build firm. By 1992, I had 8 architects on staff and 4 regional offices in California. Business was growing, everything looked great until I went on a missions trip to Argentina with a fellow named Ed Silvosa with Harvest Evangelism. During that trip, I came to realize just how big and how real God is. Ed asked me at one point what it is that I would like to present to God when I die as evidence of a life well lived in service to Him. It was at that point that I realized that God wasn't concerned with the number of churches I designed or built, but rather how I helped His church to grow and be more effective in reaching the lost and developing Christ-like disciples. I then realized that wasting my life building hundreds of country club churches was not something I wanted to present to God. Now, had I not gone to Argentina, I doubt if I ever would have come to that conclusion. So when I got back from Argentina, I started looking at churches all across the United States and trying to find out, what was making them grow so fast. I looked at Willow Creek, Saddleback, Santa Cruz Bible Church, Jubilee Christian Center, South Hills, and other dynamic ministries to see why they were growing and attracting so many unsaved people. I found that most of the successful ministries I studied had some sort of a plan. I collected numerous plans and found them to be somewhat lacking in direction and detail. My neighbors at the time, I lived in a town called Los Gatos, were Steve Wozniak from Apple Computer and Bill Elder, who was the founder of Gina Semiconductor. Woz and Bill gave me copies of their business plans. These are the plans they used to start their companies. And I use those as models for developing strategic ministry plans for churches. I figured if they worked for Apple and Genus, they might work for a church. Since that time, every project I've developed starts with the development of a long-range strategic ministry plan. Each plan has 2 parts. The first is the strategic plan that outlines purpose, mission, vision, core values, goals, and objectives. This part identifies the who, what, where, and when, and the why of the plan. The second part is the tactical part. It answers the how, or how we will go about accomplishing our goals and objectives. Once the strategic ministry plan is in place, we must then communicate that plan to the congregation and build buy-in and ownership among church members. Once the plan is communicated and the leadership and the congregation have bought into it, the next step is to fund the ministries and the programs. Keep in mind, you should never do a fundraising program for a new building. The focus should always be on the fulfillment of objectives as defined in your strategic ministry plan. The building, when needed, simply provides space for ministry. It's the ministry that should always be the focus of a fundraising campaign, not a building. That's what separates a successful fundraising program from others. Now today in the United States, 75% of Christian churches are plateaued or declining. A comprehensive strategic ministry plan can help change that. At Harvest Time, we guide and direct our ministry partners with 3 steps. They are decide, commit, and succeed. Whether your church is growing, plateaued, or declining, you need to decide now on what you want to lay at the foot of the cross as evidence of a life well lived in service to God. Your future role in eternity depends on this decision. Now, as for me, I'll lay at the foot of the cross 1,000 Christian ministries that benefited from Harvest Time's experience and as a result became more effective in reaching the lost and building Christ-like disciples. Now, if 1,000 churches can reach an additional 1,000 people each as a result of partnering with Harvest Time and learning from my experience in coaching, then I'll have had a role in reaching 1 million people for Christ. Now, take a good, honest look at your ministry and your life and ask yourself this. If I were to die today and all I had to present to God was my current situation and my current accomplishments, could I honestly state that I gave it my best? Is God going to say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant"? Decide now what you want to lay at the foot of the cross, and then develop a plan to make that happen. Our next step after decide is to commit. Commit to learning, and preferably learn from the experience of others, how to go about developing and then achieving your vision and your goals. Seminary is failed in many ways to equip you with the knowledge you need to succeed. Harvest Time exists to fill in the blanks and to guide and direct you along the way. As a result of our commitment to you, I started Harvest Time University, an online training program with 28 classes to teach you everything you need to know about strategic planning, land acquisition, financing, fundraising, developing new state-of-the-art facilities. We've got 28 classes on there. Once you've got that knowledge, now you're set to succeed. The goal in ministry is not to survive, but to succeed. And without a strategic ministry plan, you won't know what success looks like. So start with the development of a long-range strategic ministry plan. We're here to help. You develop and implement your plan. There are thousands of people in your community whose eternal destination is dependent on your commitment to reaching the lost, having a long-range plan, and achieving ministry success. Now, after this clip, the next video clip we'd like you to look at will introduce you to Harvest Time University. It'll give you more detail on the classes we've developed and we offer, and how to use this exciting new service to develop your strategic plan. Also, how to develop congregational buy-in and ownership of the plan, and how to move your ministry forward in pursuit of your mission and vision. Following the introduction to Harvest Time University, we'll offer you an opportunity to join me and our team at Harvest Time at our planning retreat here in Colorado Springs. Our 10,000 square foot facility is located on 35 acres in the Black Forest. It's uniquely designed to host your leadership team. I've hosted ministry teams from all over the United States and assisted them in the development of long-range ministry plans, finance and fundraising plans, and the design and the development of new facilities. The Strategic Planning Retreat in Colorado Springs is a unique opportunity to learn from my experience how to advance your ministry in this 4-day one-on-one planning retreat. Video number 4 will introduce you to Harvest Time's fundraising program. We call it Capital Advantage. Strategic ministry plans with detailed strategies for the fulfillment of goals and objectives can only be realized with the capital needed to fund the programs. Capital Advantage will assist your ministry in raising the needed capital to fund your ministry, hire staff, and fuel the growth of your church. The 5th and final video will highlight Harvest Time's unique design services and take the mystery out of church architecture, land acquisition, development, and construction. With nearly 30 years of church development experience and hundreds of successful projects completed, you'll learn from our experience and our team, and in doing so, make your journey a truly pleasant and rewarding experience. Thank you again for joining me today on YouTube. To view the next video and learn how Harvest Time University can give you the knowledge and information you need to succeed, type Harvest Time Introduction-Part 2 in the search window. God bless and thank you for your time.